Hi everyone. I thought I will make a quick video to give you all some tips on how to do presentations more impactful. And I'll try to finish it as soon as I can. But there are basically four big things that everybody has to keep in mind to make their presentations more impactful. The one is preparation. So everybody has to put some time in preparing their presentation. For some people, it can be 5 minutes. For some people, it can be 3 days. For some people, it can be a couple of hours. I think the misconception that all of us carry is like we think, oh, big CEOs or some people, they just go off the cuff during presentations. But most of the time, it's not true. Everybody, almost like 99.9% puts time together to prepare for presentation. So we all should do that because that at the end makes you feel more comfortable, makes you feel more confident, and then directly makes your presentations more impactful. I think one of the things in preparation I'll mention is when people rehearse the presentations, they should also try to see other cosmetic things, right? Like, am I comfortable in doing presentations in my formal wears, or am I doing comfortable in my casual wear, right? Is my watch okay? Is something bothering me from a cosmetic perspective or from a costume perspective, or if I go in a center, will project light fall on me? Because sometimes those small things does panic a person, and it does impact the presentation. So when people rehearse, keep in mind those things. Is my shoes okay? Do I need to polish my shoes? Those small things does impact your confidence and everything else. One other important thing in preparation is, because a lot of us start preparing at a point, hey, let me create a deck, let me create a presentation, let me get a brain dump what I want to present. But it's very important that you start your presentation at knowing your audience. Who is your audience? Who they are, what do they know about you, what is their expertise? It's very important to know that aspect before you prepare anything. Why? Because I think the simple example I give is, if I tell you all that give me a joke because I want to give it to somebody, I may share a different joke with my friends, and I may send a different joke to my kid's school. There may be a different level. I can't share a flitty joke to the kids' school. So it's very important for you all to ask me, like, who is an audience of this joke, so that you can curate your content accordingly. So before we prepare any presentation, it's very important we know our audience and we curate our content according to them. So that's the one thing in preparation which all of us should take care of. The second thing is content, right? And in content, I will mention, I think, a couple of things. One thing under the content is what I call as a letterbox flap. So letterbox flap is nothing but it is really that 15-second thing in your whole presentation. So if I prepare my presentation and it's a 1-hour presentation, and obviously nobody gives presentation just for presentation's sake, right? There is some intent that I'm presenting because of XYZ reason. I am presenting because I want all of us to align on certain decision. So whenever we are presenting, I myself should be very clear that what is that message that I can finish in 15 seconds. And that message should be really the core, should be really the crux of that whole 1-hour presentation. So anytime going forward, you all make any presentations, think about it. कि 15 seconds का क्या है जो मैं really बताना चाहता हूँ लोगों को, right? Keep that aside, keep that repeating in your mind so you are very clear what your presentation is going to be. So the example why we call it as a letterbox flap is basically like, if you're going into any presentation and that person has closed the door, and then you only have that letterbox flap that you can flap up and shout something 15 seconds, that is your core message that you should be clear yourself, that this is my 15-second letterbox flap. So any presentations you guys do going forward, make sure you do that 15-second letterbox flap thing. The other thing is very important is like there should be some eyebrow raise moments in your presentation. I have seen this personally, like when some people present and you're like 5-10 minutes in the presentation, sometimes the people in the audience look at each other, right? And they raise the eyebrows like, wow. Like they look at each other and they raise the eyebrows because the person in the front has made some impact, right? So sometimes people do this, they deliberately create some eyebrow raise moments in their presentations. Now, if you look into the YouTube and search one of the videos of Bill Gates where he talked about the malaria, what he does in that whole presentation is he opens up a glass jar where there are mosquitoes inside the jar. He opens them, he lets them free, and then he cracks a joke like, why should only poor has malaria? Why can't rich get it? So I'm freeing those mosquitoes in the air. So everybody is like laughing, but it did create that eyebrow moment. People were like, wow, what's he doing, right? So you show something, you do something, or you brag about something in your presentation that is going to create that eyebrow raise moment. So keep that in mind. Keep 15-second letterbox flap in mind. Keep eyebrow raise moments in mind. The other thing is really that you need to be really like telling a story, like concise your presentation. Like, what is the context? What are we trying to do? How do we solve the problem? Like, tell in a proper flow, in a proper story. Don't just go in the meat of the presentation. So that's another important thing that I want to mention under the content. The third thing, so I talked about preparation, I talked about content. The third thing is about structure, right? Now, when you are delivering a presentation, it should have a structure. Now, in structure, it's very important. The opening and closing of presentation is very, very important. How many of us just go like, hey, I am Umar, I am ABC, thanks for joining time, thanks for taking the time. And then at the end, we say like, hey, thanks for giving me your time, bye-bye, and all this stuff. So we most of the time take opening and closings for granted, but those two are very, very important thing. Like whenever people open up any presentation, right, everybody in the audience gives you those 10-15 seconds to listen to you, no matter who you are, right? If you're nobody, audience still gives you 10-15 seconds to listen to you. If you cannot make that impact in opening session for those 10-15 minutes, then people not going to give you another 1 minute, 2 minutes. So you're really making your impact, you're establishing your credentials in those 10 to 15 seconds in your opening session. So always before you do any presentation, make sure that whenever you're opening, your opening needs to be impactful. कि बंदों को लगे कि नहीं सुनना है, we need to give 1 hour time to this person, because you're establishing your credentials in those seconds. Sometimes even those moments become the eyebrow moments that I was talking about earlier. So keep focus on opening and closing. And closing is equally important. Like whatever you talked in 1 hour, people are going to remember it. What they're going to remember is really how you close it, right? That's what they're going to take away with them, because that's what you talked in the last. So make sure that you wrap up, you summarize everything in your close up. Don't just close like saying bye-bye, thanks for the time and all that stuff. The last thing is really about, after structure, is really about performance. I tell this to people, like, don't just deliver the presentation, but go with the mindset that I need to tell people something. I need to tell people story. I need to deliver a story. I need to tell people something that they understand. Some people like, yeah, I have to deliver a presentation, I do my presentation. No, go with the mindset that I need to tell people something. Like, I want people to learn something. I want people to understand something. Go with that mindset. And to go with that mindset, it's very important that people do body language. People have a face-to-face contact. People have an eye-to-eye contact. People are facially more confident, visually more confident, and everything like that. The example I want to give in that is, if you all have, some of you have the cat as a pet, when cat gets agitated or gets excited, cat kind of stretches her body. Her tail becomes longer, her body becomes longer, she kind of stretches that. And it's very important. Like if I'm talking with my friend on a coffee, I may be like normal human being talking normally, chit-chatting. But when I am on a presentation, I am on that spotlight, right? I need to deliver, and I need to become that big cat during that whole session. It's very important. And you'll see, like, if you all want to transition yourself from a small cat, like I'm Umar, I'm right now a small cat, but hey, I'm Umar and I'm right now a big cat, I think you will see my tone changed, maybe my voice changed, maybe my body language was more impactful. So we have to be that big cat across that presentation, right? So that's very, very important. One other thing I mentioned in that is sometimes, like, I don't think any presentation goes like flawless. There may be the presentations where there may be some feedback, and that's fine. Sometimes I give people like the skiing example. When you do skiing on the snow, you hit sometimes the hard ice, and then you imbalance, your skis imbalance, your poles imbalance, and you get panic. But then when you hit the soft snow again, you're back like skiing like a pro, right? And same thing happens in presentations. Sometimes there may be questions that people get diverted, the things go wrong, or you go upset, or you go like off the track. It's fine. Don't get panic, because you know that soft ice is going to hit again and you will be balancing again. So keep that in mind. Don't go with expectation that my whole presentation will go flawless. It can go wrong, but then don't panic. Come back to your original track where you are. So these are kind of couple of things that I'll repeat as a summarize to do a good closing. Is preparation, know your audience first. In content, think about that letterbox flap. You should be clear what you want to do in the presentation, and that 15 seconds will help you in that. Those eyebrow movements, put in some eyebrow movements in your presentation, and make it very concise, very simple. We don't need those big presentations where you write the paragraphs. That's not the intent, because then people going to read those lines and lose your eye-to-eye contact. So never do that. Never ever do that. Presentations help to visualize something, to visualize org charts, visualize data, and maybe help you with some pointers. That's it. And then give it a structure, opening and closing, super, super important, as I mentioned. And then body language, the eye-to-eye contact, become that big cat that I was talking about during the spotlight, is also very, very important. So I hope you all will try to kind of implement those things in your next presentations. And as you practice more and more, I'm sure that it's going to really, really help. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.